Boxing is one of the oldest and most respected combat sports in human history. I don't care what anyone says, but if there's a heavyweight clash, everyone is going to be talking about it. Whether it be Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, and my favorite boxer of all time, Prince Nassim Hamid. You're going to be talking about it. This pugilistic sport has two fighters, two gloves, pure skill, timing, heart. You need a good chin and you need stamina. And yet in fighting games, a genre strictly built around combat, true boxers are surprisingly rare. But can we look at the ones that exist and try to figure out which one actually comes closest to being an actual boxer? Boxers are some of the most fascinating, most debated, most beloved characters in our gaming history. Today we're answering the question the FGC has never properly addressed. Which fighting game actually got boxing right? Let's take a deep dive. The year's 1991, Street Fighter 2 Turbo just released, and the first ever true boxer in a fighting game just arrived. Balrog, aka he was M. Bison, aka Mike Bison, aka copyrights. Mike Tyson wasn't happy with his likeliness being used. Now, Balrog wasn't a hero. They were going after the Mike Tyson look, and Tyson was crazy in the 90s. He wasn't a gentleman. He wasn't there to honor the sport, right? Mike Tyson was biting people's ear off, and that's the road Capcom wanted to go down. Balrog was loud, he was corrupt, a cheater who would headbutt, stomp, elbow his way to victory. Clearly inspired by the explosive, aggressive style of Mike Tyson, the peekaboo style. Balrog was just pure power over technique, even though Mike Tyson did have some technique. Interesting enough though, Mike Tyson recently gave an interview talking about his likeliness in the Street Fighter 2, and he completely denies it. Have a look.
Do you know the story of Street Fighter 2 and M. Bison?
No, I have no idea.
So this is, I want to show you a picture actually. So this, right here. So this is a character in Street Fighter 2.
Does he look like me?
This is. I'm just going to show the camera as well. Yeah. So this is actually Balrog in America from Street Fighter 2. But
I got a serious lawsuit. I must have a serious lawsuit going on.
So this character was initially called M. Bison, Bison, in Japan. They brought the game to America, and they changed this character's name to Balrog because it was too close to a boxer that happened to be the heavyweight champion of the world at the time, or the most popular boxer in the world out there. So had you ever seen this before, and how?
Never in a million years.
What do you think about What do you think about this as M. Bison? What comes to mind when you see this?
I'm really honored with the impersonation of it.
Yeah. Very strong character.
Yeah, I think that's it. I'm really
honored.
Now guys, tell me, what do you think about this? Because there's articles on the internet saying Mike Tyson's team sued Japan because of the likeliness of the name and they changed the names around. I don't know. Mike Tyson's done a lot of cocaine in his time. We will never know. Anyways, back to Balrog. No kicks, just devastating punches delivered with raw, brutal force from one end to another. And here's what's fascinating about Balrog from a design perspective. Despite being a cheater who violated every rule of boxing, he was actually the most realistic boxer in Street Fighter history. No supernatural powers, no spinning opponents at impossible speeds, just a big man who hits incredibly hard like a truck. In a franchise full of fireballs and supernatural abilities, Balrog kept it grounded. And that made him genuinely terrifying because Balrog didn't have a fireball. He couldn't fly in the air like Vega. He couldn't teleport like Dhalsim. He didn't have a Psycho Crusher. You actually genuinely needed great fundamentals to use Balrog. He defined what a fighting game boxer could be. Everything that came after was either inspired by him or deliberately designed as its opposite. The year's 1997. Street Fighter 3 and Capcom created something extraordinary, guys. They released a character called Dudley. If Balrog was everything wrong with boxing, corrupt, dirty, selfish, then Dudley was everything right about it, per se. You got a British gentleman, refined, well-mannered, well-groomed, fighting with pure technical excellence and absolute respect for the sport. His personality was possibly inspired by real-life British boxing legend Chris Eubank. Eccentric, stylish, completely unique the way Chris Eubank speaks.
It's a beautiful summer's day. The breeze is stupendous.
Very elegant. Can we have some parliamentary procedure, as Chris Eubank would say? Traditional boxing technique executed with incredible finesse. Corkscrew blows, machine gun uppercuts, hooks delivered with the precision of a craftsman. Dudley didn't just fight, he performed. And the contrast between him and Balrog became one of the most fascinating rivalries in Street Fighter history because Balrog was a heavyweight. Well, Dudley, you can argue, was maybe a super middleweight. He was really fast. The contrast captures something real about boxing itself. The sport has always contained both the beautiful and the brutal. You like knockouts, you pick Balrog. You like pure technique, then you look at Dudley. But this is where it gets a bit interesting, and it's kind of sad to be fair. Street Fighter 6 is in its season 4, and Dudley isn't there. Balrog isn't there. The Gentleman of Boxing deserves a return. In my opinion, so does Balrog. And now Tekken 4 arrives. My favourite Tekken of all time. And then there's Steve Fox. 2001. And in my personal opinion, this is one of the most authentic representation of boxing in any fighting game ever made, to be honest. Here's why, in my opinion, Steve Fox is special in a way that Balrog and Dudley simply can't match. Tekken is actually a 3D fighting game, and that third dimension completely added a new layer to boxing. It transformed what a boxing character can do. Steve can slip, he can weave, he can move laterally, dodge side to side in ways that actually mirror real boxing movement completely. In Street Fighter, it's not quite there. Like, you can see them do it, but it's still in 2 dimension, forward and back. In Tekken, Steve moves like a real boxer. He's got his flicker stance, he's got his body blows, his defensive slipping between attacks, his ability to counter off defensive movements. And they even gave him kind of an alley shuffle. Every technique, actually, Steve uses has real boxing equivalents. He's got the jab, he's got the cross, he's got the hook, uppercut, slip, roll, parry, right hook. He's got all the punches. Only thing that Steve hasn't got is he hasn't got a haymaker like Balrog. That's something he hasn't got, but that's something you sacrifice because if I was to put it in boxing terms, his weight, he would be maybe like a welterweight, a heavy welterweight, maybe a middleweight. And the fact that boxing comes from England, they put a young British champion with a mysterious scar on his arm, an orphan who discovered his origins were darker than he ever imagined. A man whose very existence was the result of Mishima Zabatsu experiments. Great gameplay and a genuinely compelling story. Steve Fox actually requires a lot of skill to use, so I respect Steve players. Steve Fox didn't just get boxing right mechanically. They created a character that boxing fans and fighting game fans could both love equally. But, and there's a big but, there's something missing about Steve. He hasn't got that knockout power. That's something that I find missing with Steve. Now, let's talk about a boxing character that doesn't get nearly enough credit. TJ Combo from Killer Instinct. A former heavyweight champion who was stripped of his title after it was discovered he had replaced his arms with bionic implants to gain an advantage. Sounds a bit like Jax. He was disgraced, banned from the sport he loved. The storyline alone is more compelling than most fighting game characters' backgrounds. TJ Combo represents something real about boxing. It's corrupt, we all know that, and that temptation to cheat. So many boxers get done for PEDs. The pressure to win at any cost, and the consequences of victory. Now let's look at his fighting style. It's combined with traditional boxing with explosive power because of his bionic arms. And his story of a fallen champion trying to prove he's worthy even before the implants gave him emotional depth that few boxing characters in gaming have actually matched. TJ Combo deserves to be in the conversation every single time. And I really hope Killer Instinct comes back because if it does, I genuinely hope they give him a proper storyline and they upgrade TJ Combo. In the latest Killer Instinct, I really liked the way he played. I don't think his story's finished yet. I want to quickly touch on Mortal Kombat because here's something that genuinely puzzles me. Mortal Kombat is actually one of the biggest franchises in history. Decades of games, hundreds of characters across multiple timelines. And there's not one boxer, you know. I didn't even know that. And if you think about that for a second, Mortal Kombat's got ninjas, it's got gods, sorcerers, cyborgs, so many movies, but not one boxer. And boxing's such a universal sport. Street Fighter has 3. Tekken has Steve Fox. Killer Instinct has TJ. And Mortal Kombat, with its massive roster and willingness to add literally anyone, has never once thought to include a boxer. That's not just an oversight. I think that's a missed opportunity by Ed Boon. Imagine a Mortal Kombat with a boxer. That aggressive style. Imagine what you could do with the fatalities. Like, he punches you so hard, your head explodes. But hey, you know what, NetherRealm? We're waiting. Sort it out. So guys, here's my verdict after everything. Right? We talked about Balrog, Dudley, TJ Combo, Steve Fox. Which fighting game actually came closest to getting it right? And here's my opinion. I'm kind of torn because I really love heavyweight boxing, and Balrog gives you that heavyweight power. For pure authenticity and how a boxer moves, I'm going to give it to Steve Fox, because that 3D movement, the realistic techniques, that left hook that they call back one, you get caught with that, it's beautiful. For personality and character, I like Dudley. You know, he reminds me of Chris Eubank, and I find that so funny. But if we're talking about cultural impact, everyone knows about Balrog. He defined the archetype, which is boxing. Without Balrog, there's actually no Dudley, and I don't think there'll be a Steve Fox. Because Tekken want to match what Street Fighter do. That's why after Sagat, they released a Fakum Rum. The timing was kind of interesting. And I really like for storyline TJ, a fallen champion with genuine human stakes. His story resonates a way that pure fighting game characters rarely achieve. I can't pick one. I genuinely can't pick one because I like all 4 fighting styles. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. That's my verdict because I think Balrog started it, Dudley refined it, TJ gave it heart, and Steve Fox gave it technique. Mortal Kombat, I don't know where you guys are, but let me know in the comments. I genuinely do love the boxing fighting games with Fight Night Round 3 with Oscar De La Hoya on it. The soundtrack was amazing with Akon. Hey, you know what? We're still waiting on a good boxing game. But you know what? I want to give a shout out to my boy Bull Rage. He plays Steve Fox amazing. Let me know what you guys think. If you like the video, guys, please give it a like. Hype up the video. And if you want to see more of this, guys, you know what to do. Hit the sub button, man. Ozzy appreciates all your support.